Jay here for Stretford Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, I'm live. We're in the studio, so get involved in the chat and the comments. We're going to be talking about all things Manchester United. We're going to be talking about the injury crisis, if you can call it a crisis. I think you probably can. What is going on at Old Trafford on that front. Also, we're giving you a little bit of an update on what was said on Paul Pogba's latest interview, if you care. Plus, we'll be having a slight look ahead to the Brentford game, although it's not the preview. That will be coming on later in the week. And where would we be without a Frenkie De Jong story? Apparently, we've got another one of them. So make sure you are hitting like, share, and subscribe, and we'll get into all that good stuff. Good to see the usual suspects in here already in the chat. Akash K, Greg Fost, Maurice Marshall, Jacoya Trott, Brian Casey, Rafa D, Flashburn 52, Bob Relf, Lambert, Phobos, Taco Man says, morning Jay, why are we so cursed? It does feel a little bit like that, doesn't it? It does feel like there's always a drama when it comes to injuries with Manchester United Football Club. Let's get into it then. There's a story. We've got the Manchester Evening News here. This is sort of doing it's doing the injury updates blog or whatever you want to call it. Now, the reason we're sort of looking at injuries is over the last few days there's been a bit of an update and a bit of news on the injury front. Now, you had Manuel Ugarte, who went off earlier, I think, in Uruguay's game the other night. There was talk that he might have a little bit of a knot there. So he's going to be assessed. We'll have to wait and see. You can see that he came off with Uruguay's goalless draw with Ecuador after 82 minutes. So we'll see what happens on that front. Is there going to be an update there? Is he going to be available for the Brentford game? We don't know. Not great when he comes off with an issue, but we'll have to wait and see. I mean, I know he wasn't getting picked for the last couple of games anyway, but you would imagine that when all's said and done, he is a first-team player for Manchester United, and he probably would have featured against Brentford. So that is a bit of an injury blow. Then you've got like the other ones we know about. There's Nuzer Mazraoui. There's a couple of other ones. Alejandro Garnacho, who withdrew from the squad. The one that sort of had everyone talking last night was the Kobbie Mainoo one. So there was a tweet, I think, from United Menace. Now, United Menace is a lad who's on Twitter, and he's quite reliable. He's tweeted a few updates before when it comes to injury news, and this has been picked up. But we've got a tweet from, I think I sent it through, if we can dig it out. Yeah, or maybe not actually. He did a tweet, like, let me find it and I'll run through it with you. Let me just see it. I think it was been picked up by a couple of aggregator accounts. And he just said, sorry my fellow United fans, Kobbie Mainoo looking around 4 weeks depending on recovery and rehabilitation. Yeah, I'll send that through to you now, Ben. Sorry, I thought I had done. Send it through to the live producer, you can have a look. So, normally if someone just tweets and he's got like 5,000 followers, so it's not like he's got loads of followers. You go, okay, is that just a bit of mischief making? Is it someone who doesn't actually know what's going on? But he is very reliable, that lad, and he's had injury updates before where he's broke injury stories. You can see that there. So I actually put a little bit of weight behind this. I think he seems to be in tune with what is going on in terms of injuries. Depending on recovery and rehabilitation there, it says. Now, I don't want to be sort of scaremongering, but like I said, that is an account that has been reliable in the past. Kobbie Mainoo obviously didn't feature for England because of some sort of injury issue, so it would make sense that he's got something going on. Something is not right. We know as well that he came off against Spurs with an injury. Then I think he played against Villa, didn't he? He didn't play. I think he didn't play against Porto. We can get the chronology right. Sorry, came off against Spurs with an injury. Didn't play against Porto. Then played against Villa. I think is the right sort of order of merit, if you will. So it's been a bit up and down in terms of injuries. Not playing for England. He obviously wants to play for England. There's something there that's stopping him. Now it seems that he could be out for 4 weeks. So when you throw that in to the Manuel Ugarte news that he could be out, and again, there's a little bit of conjecture here, and we're going to hear the full update from the manager later on in the week. So we don't want to be too sort of speculative, but you have to accept things as what they are on face value, and it doesn't look great when you've got Mazraoui out, who's been a very good player for Manchester United so far this season since he arrived from Bayern Munich. You've got Kobbie Mainoo with something of an issue. You've also got question marks over Manuel Ugarte because of what happened when he was away for Uruguay playing Ecuador. Then, yeah, it doesn't look great. There's also there Rasmus Højlund, was reported to have missed a training session with Denmark on Sunday as a fitness precaution, sparking concerns. He may have picked up another knock, but he was spotted training Monday, so he should be all right. There's little ones there. Alejandro Garnacho withdrew from the Argentina squad. Again, we don't know the full ins and outs, and then Amad Diallo, there was a bit of an illness issue there that forced him to pull out of the international squad as well, I think. And then we know about Mazraoui, so yeah, we can get rid of that now. I think that on the whole, you can look at it and go, it's not quite as bad as it was last season. The thing with last season was it was horrendous. So even not quite being as bad as last season isn't good. And when you're losing key players that have been playing well, then that's the issue. Because Mainoo is a key player. Mazraoui has come in, he's a key player. And especially when we've got this injury crisis with left-backs. We haven't got any left-backs available. It doesn't look like Luke Shaw and Tyrone Malacia are going to be available. So you're having to move things around. And this is a big game for Manchester United. I don't want to... Again, I'm trying to avoid being too melodramatic, but you have to be honest, it is a big game for Manchester United. We're in this bad run of form. We need to start picking up points, especially at Old Trafford. Brentford, this weekend, a winnable game against a difficult team, but a team that haven't won at Old Trafford, I think, ever, or for decades, I think it is, which makes you wonder, is this going to be the time they do? Because their record against us at their ground's pretty decent. Sorry. JB says Mainoo is no loss right now. That's nonsense, he is. Brian Casey says Mainoo needs a rest, but not like this. Glenn F says, morning Jay, hope you're feeling well, bro. Thank you. Ross Murphy says, morning Jay. Colin Coupleditch says, is Mason Mount fit? I don't know what the latest is with Mason Mount, actually. He's another one. I think he is available. I think so. But he's been someone who, since he's arrived at Old Trafford, he's just not been able to get going, has it? He's had injury problem after injury problem, and then when he comes back in, then he picks up another injury problem. Obviously, he got trolled a lot, didn't he, for the post that he did after the Liverpool game where he had a bang on the head. And he was like, was it the Liverpool game? Was it Liverpool or Spurs? They all mould into one. Yeah, and was it Spurs? It was Spurs where he did the post about, don't worry about my concussion, I'm going to be okay. And everyone was like, that was, read the room. But all that being said, he's not had an easy run of it, has he? And it's a shame because start to look at Mason Mount, you think, what does the future hold for him at Manchester United? Again, I don't want to be, too negative, but it's not been great, has it? Yeah, there we go. Laurie Whitwell, I think, and we've tweeted it as well, says Mason Mount, who's been instrumental to United's improved pressing schemes at the start of the campaign, is set to return to training ahead of Saturday's game against Brentford. So he could be available for the Brentford game. You want him fit. You want as many players as possible fit. And he did have it. It's a shame because when he looked like he was getting going, that good 45 minutes he had against Brighton, then he comes off at half-time with an injury. It's like, you cannot get a run in the team. You need your players fit and available. He needs to have a decent run in the team. He needs to start showing people what he's about because we haven't seen the same Mason Mount at Manchester United as what we saw at Chelsea. We haven't. Let's just face facts. We've seen glimpses of it, but not truly. And it's a bit of a shame, it really is, because there's obviously a player that the manager wanted. We went early with getting him. We didn't wait until he was available on a free. We spent around 50, 60 million quid or whatever it was on him. And yet we've barely seen anything of him so far. Hopefully, though, we will see something soon. Should we talk about Paul Pogba? Because Paul Pogba's been doing this interview. Spoke to Sky Sports. I think he spoke to Sky Cavi. And he said, I'm not a cheater. I'm someone that loves my sport. I love the game. I like to win fairly. And people see that. I'm a bad loser, but I'm not a cheater. He also spoke out in some of the other quotes that he said. He spoke about Mourinho, but the one that was doing around this morning was he was talking about Wayne Rooney. Because Wayne Rooney had said that he'd seen Pogba and Jesse Lingard dancing in the change rooms after the day after a defeat or something, and he said that wasn't true. But he said it wasn't true, but he said, can anyone confirm that? If no one can confirm that, then it's not true. I hate to lose and all that sort of stuff. And then there was the bit about Rio Ferdinand had apparently messaged Wayne Rooney and said, why are Jesse Lingard and Paul Pogba posting pictures of themselves dancing or whatever when we've gone through a bad run or we've had a bad result, and Paul Pogba was pushing back on that. So I'm not too sure, to be honest with you. But, I mean, it's almost irrelevant now, isn't it, to be honest with you? You can see there, Rooney claimed he had confiscated speaking from Pogba and former United attacker Jesse Lingard in the dressing room following defeat. I do remember one time coming into training at United the day after a defeat, still feeling very annoyed, and walking to the dressing room with Michael Carrick. We found Jesse and Paul dancing in there with the music on. I went over, turned it off and took the speakers out of the dressing room because that's my mindset. That's how I grew up with football. how I've grown up in football. Paul and Jesse accepted it because I was a senior player, but in hindsight, they were not doing anything wrong, not hurting anyone, and it was just my old school mentality kicking in. As Rio Fernandez said, players of our generation just have to get used to this generation and what's changed. So he's not really been harsh there, Rooney. He's kind of stuck up for him. Pogba's pushing back on it because he's obviously doing a bit of a not just an interview, it's all like good PR, innit? It's like, look, I care about United, I didn't want to lose and all that stuff. But I don't think it's that deep, to be honest with you. You can see there, I want to clarify something because I've been hearing stuff that Wayne Rooney once said. We lost the game and me and Jesse were dancing in the changing room. We need always another opinion, a witness on this. If someone can confirm what Wayne Rooney said we were in the changing room, then I will accept it. If not, then that's mean. It's not true. And when Jesse Lingard tells you, did Jesse confirm that? Never. I have never confirmed that because I'm a very bad loser and I respect what I do and respect the club. So it's kind of a weird way to put that. Can anyone confirm that? Because if not, it didn't happen. It's like he's saying it didn't happen, but then if Jesse said it did, then it did. I don't know. I'll be honest with you, I'm not that fussed anymore. I think we've lost enough sleep over stuff like that. Too busy focusing on the current state of Manchester United and how bad we are now instead of worrying how bad we were a few years ago. Get involved in the chat in the comments. Let me know what you think. Do you care about this? Is it an issue, or do you think we all just need to move on? Brian Casey says, Pogba saying that he gave his best for United is just laughable. Imagine how bad he'd have been if he wasn't trying. Akash K says, but Jay, there was a clear video of him dancing with Jesse. So there is a video. I think that's the one that Wayne Rooney refers to. And if that's the same time as what is being mentioned, then I don't know what Paul Pogba's on about, to be honest with you. Let's talk about Antony. Antony fee. Manchester United are ready, this is in the Mirror. Manchester United are ready to offload Antony and are hopeful of securing 40 million for the Brazilian flop. The winger signed from Ajax in Erik ten Hag's first summer has been one of the most underwhelming signings in top-flight history. His astronomical £86 million fee, coupled with his lack of return on the pitch, makes him one of the worst buys in Premier League history. Antony slipped down the pecking order as patience wears thin, and the club are already prepared to get him off their books, despite their huge investment. So what is the fee? Can we have a look? Oh, sorry, it's there. Sorry, I missed it. It's 40 million. Jesus Christ. Right. We're not going to get 40 million for Antony. We're just not. Like, that's ridiculous. I'm sorry, but I just don't see it happening at all. We massively overpaid for Antony. When we wanted Antony, right, when he was, 21, 22, we valued him at 35 million. We ended up paying 80 odd million, and now we want 40 million for someone who's basically had a poor 18 months. That's just not happening. I don't know how accurate this is from the Mirror. It might be nonsense. But if Manchester United are genuinely thinking we're going to get 40 million pound for Antony, then you're absolutely and utterly deluded. Listen, I've made my feelings clear on Antony. I don't want to keep hammering the kid, and I hope he turns it around. But he's got, 5 goals and 3 assists in 56 Premier League appearances. You ain't getting 40 million quid for him. He's also got a little bit of baggage. I know the off-the-field issue was I think it's been resolved, so I don't want to go too much into that. But there was the issue where he was asked to play in different positions and he kicked off, whispering to Gabriel Jesus, all that jazz. To me, he doesn't strike me as someone that a manager would go, I want him in my squad. So I don't think we're going to get 40 million quid for him, if indeed we are trying to offload him. It makes sense if we're trying to move him on because it's not really happening for him, but getting 40 million quid for him, I think you'd be lucky to get half that. I genuinely think you'd be lucky to get 20 million quid for Antony. We'll see what happens. I mean, Brian Casey would be lucky to get 20 million for him. I agree. Ross Murphy says we'll be lucky to get anywhere near that price. Kevin Aitchen says I'd have a bit more time for Antony if he didn't spend 5 minutes celebrating the odd time he scores. Linton Moodley says lol, we have become a joke of a club. Phil Taylor says even Cleopatra is side swiping Antony. There you go, there's a nice contemporary joke for you. George Best says Antony worth 2 bob and a roll up. Marcus Stevens says 40 million is his cap hit for the rest of his contract. Yeah, if anything happens with Antony, any movement there, we'll see. We're going to have to wait till at least January till anyone can come in for him anyway. I just don't think anyone will. I think we've massively overpaid for a player who's just not good enough. And again, I'll keep saying it. I say it all the time. I hope he proves me wrong. Should we talk about Frenkie De Jong? We've not had a Frenkie De Jong story, have we, for ages? Manchester United, where's this from? Sports Mole are running this story. They're saying Manchester United are reportedly clear favourites to sign Frenkie De Jong during next summer's transfer window if Barcelona make it clear the midfielder can leave. Kind of know this, don't we? United want Frenkie De Jong. Ten Hag wants him anyway. Barcelona were willing to sell him, but then they weren't willing to sell him because he didn't want to go. Or sorry, he were willing to sell him, but then he wasn't willing to leave because they still owed him a load of money. I don't know. I mean, we'll have to wait and see. It feels a bit like Wesley Sneijder, this one, doesn't it? Every year, every summer, we're linked with Frenkie De Jong. Is this just going to be the new Wesley Sneijder there, where it just keeps going on and on and on, and then we never end up buying him? We'll wait and see. Very talented midfielder. Obviously, Erik ten Hag looks at him as someone that he wants, but we don't even know if Erik ten Hag is going to be here next summer. If we're being brutally honest, we don't do it. Hit that like button, please, people. Smash a like. Let's get to 100 likes. Let me know what your thoughts are on Frenkie De Jong. Do you think we'll ever see him in a United shirt? Do you want to see him in a United shirt? Are you getting bored of talking or hearing about Frenkie De Jong? It does feel a little bit like it never, ever ends. Annie says, I'm sorry, but Højlund isn't good enough. His first touch is awful. Kevin Aitchen says, Antony will smash it wherever he goes next. And some folk will be crying, we never should have sold him. Interesting. And it also says, Ten Hag should stop being obsessed with Frenkie. Akash K says, I'm not paying De Jong 250 grand a week. Linton Moodley says, I'm bored of Frenkie talk. I get that feeling as well, brother. Please hit that like. Smash a like. Come on. Hit the like button. Let's get to 100 likes. Let's talk about Thomas Frank. Manchester United higher-ups are understood to have been impressed with the work the Dane has done. So we're talking about Thomas Frank here so far, with questions remaining over Erik ten Hag's future. Ten Hag has remained in his post. We know all that. As it happens, United's very next game sees them host Brentford in the Premier League. Speaking in the lead up to the game, which some have dubbed an audition for the visiting boss, Frank has opened up on his future. What's he had to say? Frank was quizzed on the assertion that that moving on to a bigger job was just a question of time, and he's just said, I've said many times, I'm very happy at Brentford. Who knows what will happen in the future? Maybe I stay here for many years. I'm open, maybe something happens, but first and foremost, very happy, just working very hard every day to make the club better. He has been linked with Manchester United. Apparently Ineos were chatted to him in the summer. He has done a very good job at Brentford with obviously limited resources. Can he come in at Manchester United and do a job here? Possibly. I'm not sure. It's a weird one with Thomas Frank, isn't it? Because he's done well at Brentford, but does that translate to doing well at Manchester United with the expectation that comes with Manchester United? You hit mid-table with Brentford, everyone's happy with that. You hit mid-table with Manchester United, and it's a disaster. I know that's where we are now, but if we end the season there, it's a disaster. So we'll have to wait and see. I don't know. There's part of me that feels like, and listen, Erik ten Hag might not be going anywhere. And this whole, sort of rumours, reports, insinuation that it's an audition might be a moot point. But if he does go somewhere, if he does end up leaving, if he does end up getting sacked, then Thomas Frank is a name that has been mentioned several times. So it's obvious Ineos do like him. I'm just not sure if he can be the right man for the job. And he says, we get bullied by too many teams, no physicality. Also says, how on earth is Erik ten Hag still in charge? Just delaying the inevitable. Well, he's got it in his hands and to turn it around. Let's talk about David Beckham. There's a nice topic. Where's this from? Stretty News. I think it's come via the Mirror. And David Beckham has been talking to Rio Ferdinand. I bet Stephen Howson was fuming he didn't get in on that gig. He loves David Beckham. He'd have loved to have been on that one. Beckham says, I really like Jim, I've met him a few times over the years with a few mutual friends, and I think that he's a fan, and obviously he's a great businessman as well, one of the best and one of the biggest, but I think more importantly, the fans see that he cares, and I think that's a big part of it. I think obviously the fans had lost faith with the leadership over the years, and obviously he really cares about, what he wants to do and what he wants to create. So hopefully things will change, but these things take time. I think we have been quite patient as United fans over the years, but we want those good old days back. We want those days back, and the sooner the better. Never a truer word spoken by Mr. Beckham. We do want those days back. Is Sir Jim Ratcliffe the answer or the right man for the job? I hope so. I preferred him to Sheikh Jassim, and I still do. But Ineos need to deliver. We need to see some results. I don't think right now it's the end of the world if we're struggling. I don't know, you might disagree, that it is going to take a little while to turn this club around, and they have brought in a lot of different people. They've brought in new coaches. They've brought in, obviously, Dan Ashworth, Jason Wilcox, Omar Berrada as a CEO. You're not just going to get these people coming in July, some of them started, and by October, you're top of the table and everything's rosy. It is going to take a little while for us to see the benefits of the new structure, of the new talent that has come in. I'm confident that Manchester United can get there. I just feel we are going to have to go through a little bit more pain. I'm hoping that pain isn't as severe as us sat in 12th or whatever we are right now. We need to get out of this little rut that we're in, and we need to start winning football matches. I'm not saying that Manchester United should be challenging for the title just yet, but we should certainly be winning more games than we are doing, and we certainly shouldn't be getting beat at home off anyone. Don't care who it is. Manchester United should not be losing at home. We certainly shouldn't be losing 3-0, and especially not in consecutive games. Anyway, little rant over. Brian Casey says, 9 years of Glazers can't be fixed in a matter of months. It's going to take time. 100% agree with that. It is going to take time. We're not going to do it overnight, like I just said. And, Beckham's sort of alluding to that. As United fans, we're in this weird position, aren't we, where we've been spoilt because of Sir Alex Ferguson and what he achieved and the fact we are the most successful club in England. We've got 13 Premier League titles, 20 titles in total. So there is an expectation, and we are one of the biggest clubs in the world. However, over the last, 11 years, we've struggled. So it's a weird one. Gary Neville quotes here about Leroy Sane is this. So Leroy Sane has been linked, and this is someone just dug this out. Gary Neville just saying that he's electric. Yeah, just raving about Leroy Sane. He's saying, as a right back, I always have in my mind who I would not want to play against. I think these originated from the Sun. Hashtag don't buy the Sun. We have been linked with Leroy Sane. I don't see a lot in it. It's one to keep an eye on. Yeah, we know what he's about, Leroy Sane. I'll be honest with you, I'm not a massive fan. I don't care what Gary Neville says. I'm not. I thought he was okay at City, and I think he's been okay at Bayern Munich. Yes, he's capable of getting goals and assists, but I don't think he's that great, if I'm being honest. I just don't. You may disagree. Get involved in the chat in the comments. People go, oh, he's better than what we got now. He might be. But I just feel like we need to aim a little bit higher. It's not just about getting in someone who's maybe better than what we've got. I don't know with Leroy Sane. And also, I don't get good vibes from him. I don't know what it is. Vincenzo Montella. Here we go. Manchester United reportedly added Turkey manager Vincenzo Montella to their list of potential targets to replace Erik ten Hag amid his ongoing struggles at Manchester United. Where's this from? Court Offside are running this one. So you can see here, usual stuff. We know what's going on. After a poor start, blah-de-blah-de-blah-de-blah. Now, according to Ajan Spor, it seems that the experienced Italian coach, Montella, is another name United are considering as their manager. Let's have a look at this guy. What's he about? Oh, there's a nice, lovely picture of him. So, he's 50. He's been at Roma. He's managed everywhere. Roma, Fiorentina, Sampdoria, Milan, Sevilla. He's Turkey, obviously. He's been a busy boy. Let's have a look. Okay. Nothing there that makes me think he's the answer to Manchester United's problems, if I'm being brutally honest. I mean, his last big job of note, from what I can see, was at Fiorentina 4 years ago, where he ended up with a 22% win rate. So I don't know if he's going to be the answer to Manchester United problems. Let's have a look what he's won. As a manager, he won the Supercoppa Italiana with Milan 8 years ago. Nice one. Let's talk about Omar Berrada. I don't think we're going to see that kid as manager of Manchester United, by the way. Chris Wheeler here says, Man United confident new CEO Omar Berrada and other staff recruited from Man City will not be implicated in the 115 charges levelled against the rivals. There's talk of these charges getting dealt with at the end of this year. So that could be an early Christmas present, depending on which way the verdict goes. But yeah, it looks like those charges are going to get dealt with, and it looks like, or according to Chris Wheeler, United feel confident that Omar Berrada isn't going to get his knuckles wrapped or get any sort of ban or punishment or whatever. Because that would leave United with an egg on our face, wouldn't it? If we went and got Omar Berrada from City, and then 8 months later or whatever, or 6 months later, he ended up getting some sort of punishment for what he did at Manchester City. The feeling without the club and the feeling throughout the club, and the feeling has been, ever since we approached him, that whatever goes on at Manchester City with these charges, he's not involved. We'll wait and see if that's true. I hope it is, because that would be the final irony. If City get all these charges or punished for these charges, and it ends up affecting Manchester United in a negative way because we've gone and recruited someone who's at Manchester City. But it does seem like that isn't the case. Let's go through some of the chat. Hit the like button as well, please, people. Phobo Sacco Man says, waiting to hear Stephen Kennett, linked to the United job, lol. Witterbird says, good morning. George Best says, 2 good windows, lol. You sound like we had some good players to start with. I think it's referring to someone else. Stephanie Griffith says, 32 away from 100 likes. Hit the like button, please, people. You are watching. Hit that like button. Nitin Yadav says, Jay, how much faith have you left on Ten Hag right now? I've still got a little bit of faith, I'll be honest with you. So, yeah, I've not completely gone, but my faith has waned. It has waned. I just feel that the Spurs game hit me hard. It really did. That was a game we should have won. I expected us to win that game, and I expected us to play well, and we were terrible, even before the red card, and that hurt, and that made me lose a lot of faith in Erik Ten Hag. My only sort of thing that I'm holding on to is the fact that we have got a run of fixtures now, like we've had in the past, which are winnable. We have got a run of games where you go look at it, go, okay, we can get some results. If, it's a big if he can get a win against Brentford and then beat the likes of West Ham and Leicester, I think we've got Chelsea at home as well, then hopefully he can turn it around. I always want the Manchester United manager to succeed. I want Erik Ten Hag to succeed. It's just been difficult to watch over the last few weeks in particular. And like I said, my enthusiasm, my belief is waning, but I'm here to be proven wrong. I'm going to leave it there. Thanks to everyone who got involved in the chat and the comments. Make sure you are hitting like, share and subscribe. Hit that like just before you leave as well. Let's get to 100 likes just before you log off. Going to be back later on today with Off the Bar, me, Stephen Houghton and Joe Smith. So don't miss out on that one. I've been Jay Moy. This has been The Paper Talk. Thanks for watching.